Hi, Gail Fugit, President and CEO of the Advertising Research Foundation, and I'm here with Bryson Koehler, who is the CIO, Chief Information Officer of the Weather Channel. So my first question is, and we have something in common that we actually didn't chat about.
Oh, wow.
I went to, as you did, the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill.
Excellent.
I think I predated you a little bit.
Maybe by a year.
Maybe by about 20, maybe 30, I don't know. I don't think I want to know. But I think it's so great that you're at the Weather Channel because, you know, at Chapel Hill, the sky's always Carolina blue, right?
That's right.
And so you had to, when you move to other places, you find out like it isn't always Carolina blue.
It's not always Carolina blue.
You need to be able to get out.
It's only that color right over Chapel Hill.
Yes, that's true. That's actually true. So my question to you is, like, how, like, all the way from there to here we are, CES 2016.
Yeah.
You know, how did you come to be here?
That's a great question.
Tell me your story.
So my story, you know, I love to learn and I love really hard problems. The harder the problem, the more excited I get. And so my career has been, you know, I started with Arthur Andersen and I went to a subsidiary of Quest Telecommunications, and then I was in the .com space with US Web, and then I went to IHG, Intercontinental Hotels Group. Then I went to a private equity firm and was the operating partner over an operating partner over a piece of the business, and then I was at Weather. And you know, I have been a weather geek since I was a little kid. I just love Mother Nature. I love weather. I love the power of it. I love the beauty of it. I love the unpredictability of it. And you know, in terms of hard problems to solve, you know, getting the forecast right every time, that's a really hard problem to solve. And so when David Kinney called me and said, hey Bryson, I've got this really amazing opportunity. We want to really transform this company, this media company, the Weather Channel, into being a
How
big...
did he find you? You were in private equity then?
Yeah, so I've known David for a long time.
Okay.
When he was president of Akamai up in Cambridge.
Yep.
And you know, he and I, you know, shared a lot of time talking about. I was a customer of Akamai. I was a tough customer of Akamai, and so
I'm shocked.
So always pushing them to go harder and faster.
He just wanted to turn the tables on.
And so he wanted to turn the tables, and he wanted me on his
side. You to work
for
him. Yeah.
And so it was a great opportunity to combine being in Atlanta, you know, great hard problem to solve, and my love for weather. It was just an awesome opportunity. And
not often you hear "my love for weather" as a quote. I mean, I'm not actually.
I'm a weather geek. I really am. I just
So, well, and having lived in some places where they never get the forecast right, where there are other places 50-50 and other places where they're like dead on every time. They say it's going to rain, it's going to rain. I mean,
so we're right about 78% of the time on a 3-day basis.
Wow.
So we're the world's most accurate forecaster. We're very proud of that. We work very hard to continuously improve our accuracy. You know, the transformation we've gone through in the last, you know, several years, we've really dramatically improved our accuracy. We've taken our forecasting from 200,000 plus locations around the world that we would update every 4 to 6 hours, and today we're at 2.2 to 2.8 billion locations, and we update them every 15 minutes. And so the transformation we've had, and the accuracy improvements, and the precision of that location has been, you know, tremendous. And so,
did you work with a lot of different partners to create that solution?
Yeah, I mean, it was all developed in-house.
Yeah.
You know, it's all of our IP. But when you look at building a weather forecast, it does take a village.
Yeah.
You know, we bring in over 50 different models from government agencies, private research foundations, from all over the world. We run our own models. We bring all those.
You created your own data management platform.
We did, and you can't build a great weather forecast today by yourself.
Yeah.
And so we do have a lot of partners, public, private, you know, all over the world that help us gather data, whether it's sensor data like pollen data or lightning data, or model data. But then we have our own. So we have 180,000 personal weather stations all over the world, where people like myself, I've had one for probably 12 years now, you know, have had, you know, they spend their own money. They put a weather station.
So you're a forecaster too?
I'm a weather data collector.
Okay.
We bring in that data into our forecast. And so those 180,000 people.
I had a data collecting. I understand.
Right? Yeah.
Yes. So I was thinking so much about this conversation, and it seems that weather is a bit of the unsung hero, and you say it's like one of the most powerful data sets, and I have come to agree with that. I think it's a little like audio, like radio. People kind of take it for granted, then you realize like you spend so much time on it, and it's a really personal, connect for each person, but you don't really know, you kind of take it for granted a little bit.
Yeah.
And I've been so intrigued in the past year by, a couple examples using weather in marketing mix modeling by some of our member companies. One of our Ogilvy Award winning companies, a Grand Ogilvy, was Pantene that used the weather to create products that were depending on what the weather was.
The hairstyle
you would use
index,
a different,
the frizz index.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. And that was, really...
And real. It's not just marketing. It's real data with real insights that give people real decision making around what the day is going to be like, how they should prepare for it, and how they should use the products, of Pantene to account for what's different. And, hair performs differently when it's dry or when it's humid, and people instinctively know that, but they don't think about it every day.
Well, it's an insight.
And so,
insights are like ahas. I'm like, oh, I knew that.
And so when we put it on the phone, and it's right there in your mobile app, and it's in your face, and it's like, oh, because people start their day by looking at the weather app. Everybody starts their day looking at what's the weather going to be. It helps us prepare and protect everybody for tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's really our mission in life, is how do we help billions of people around the world prepare and protect themselves.
Yeah. So this same great boss that hired you and said, wooed you, right, and said, come on down, threw down the gauntlet, right? And he said, you got 3 years.
He did.
And so talk about that a little bit. And, whether it's through that experience and the, I don't know if you had fear of failure, fear of flying or whatnot, but compare and contrast that with maybe, you've had a spectacularly successful career across all these various industries. How do you deal with failure?
Right. So, I think first and foremost, speed is actually great. Velocity and the need to change, and the need to change quickly, is actually a benefit. Because if you look at any large-scale transformation, I believe that if you let them take too long, the organizational momentum will carry it back down, and you won't get the,
Yes, I had a boss that said, that's like planning a wedding too long, it never happens.
It never happens,
he
right?
told me one time, it's like,
let's have the shotgun wedding, because we can get it done.
Exactly. You put a timeline.
And I think transformations in a business are the same way. Like, you just got to rip the Band-Aid off and go. And we were facing changes in the industry, headwinds, on the TV side, as TV is going through its own transformation. And we knew that we needed to move quickly. And we knew...
Did 3 years take your breath away? Was that like, you got to be careful, or was it kind of like, I think, like the guideline, like the direction helped?
No, I think the direction helped, and I think 3 years. I think I wouldn't have wanted it to be longer than that,
right?
Because
I don't have such a good sense of the scale of what you were doing. I know there's a $3 billion investment in there, so.
So it's we
I got a feel for the scale of it.
We had to really reinvent weather forecasting. We had to reinvent how we brought in the data, stored all of this data, and then distributed it. We bring in 20 terabytes of data every day, not including...
I think it's just important to reinforce again that you did it yourself.
Yeah.
You didn't just call in...
No, these aren't off-the-shelf products. These are things that we needed to create. This was IP that we needed to own.
Very impressive.
And so, I think failure, I'm absolutely driven by the fear of failure. I don't want to let anybody down. I want to, make my boss look good. I want to make my team look good. I want to make my company look good. I don't want to fail. And so the fear of failure, drives me. I think, clearly we had missteps along the way.
How'd you deal with it?
You just keep pushing.
Yeah.
You just can't give up.
You didn't pause and
no.
have a big convo?
No, you just got to keep pushing. Because usually you can quickly spot what caused you to fail, quickly react to it. You don't need to overanalyze it. That just slows you down. And,
Did you shift gears and head in a different direction ever? Or?
I think we had to make some changes, but fundamentally, when I looked at the weather data set, I knew that weather impacted everybody on the planet every day, and it impacts most businesses on the planet every day. And so I wanted to make sure that what we built was a very agnostic data platform that wasn't just built for handling weather.
Yeah.
It needed to be built to handle all sorts of Internet of Things technologies.
That's brilliant.
Right? So because we don't know tomorrow what the next data set is that's going to help us make a better weather forecast. Getting data from an automobile.
So what you were creating a platform, not an answer, and it's
Correct.
a very different orientation.
It's a very different orientation, and I think, and that's part of the reason why we stayed so focused.
Yeah.
Was because we knew from a platform perspective that we needed to stay and build the platform. We weren't solving a specific weather-only solution. We were building a platform capability. Now we then build applications on top of that, weather.com, our mobile applications, Weather Underground. We build aviation, energy, insurance applications for B2B customers. We build those applications on top of this platform.
Sure.
We make a lot of changes in the consumer space because we're always keeping up with the changes that are going on. But from a platform perspective, we could stay pretty focused on that. And so as we hit road bumps, as we hit problems, we just push through. I have a sign that I've had on my door or, where I sit for a long time. It says safe is risky.
Oh, I love that.
Because I do think if you play it safe,
That's
in the
good.
end, it's too risky.
Yeah, and it's really paradoxical because a lot of people think that if they keep doing the same thing,
Right.
that it isn't as risky.
And especially in IT, because I think in IT, for so long as an industry, we have been trained, remove risk. We want to, enforce repeatability and consistency of delivery and remove risk. And we've created big, giant, PMO offices and management and governance structures and all of these big, risk-removing things. And at the end, they don't really remove risk. They elongate projects, and you still have issues.
Yes.
No software or technology project goes without issues.
Yes.
And it really is more around the culture you have in your team to respond quickly to those problems.
Yes.
Don't slow them down with governance and just these kind of almost fake senses of security.
Yeah.
And I think that's really prevalent in IT. I think we have to become more comfortable as an IT industry at taking risks and being okay taking risks.
Where does your conviction come from? Because it feels like and I can relate to this strongly for various change management initiatives that I led or was invited to lead, right? Like you were. That conviction of it's not optional. Where does that come from?
My
always feel that
German
way?
roots.
Okay, there you go.
Just,
that probably is it.
I don't know. I guess, I'm sure it has something to do with, if there was a couch I could lay down and maybe we could talk about my mom or something.
Yeah.
There's something there probably about, how I was raised.
Yeah.
But I just believe that, I believe, you do what you say you're going to do.
Yeah.
You deliver on that. My dad was a CFO. And I remember growing up, I always would give him a hard time because I'd always ask him, Dad, what are you doing? What did you do today? Oh, we did planning. It seemed like in the finance department, all they ever did was plan. And I'm like, do you ever execute? Do you ever do anything?
Yeah.
It seems like all you do is plan. And we always laughed about that. But I guess, for me, I just, maybe it was wanting to be different. But I just, to me, it's like, let's just execute.
Yeah.
I
can so relate to that. My dad was a college professor, right? And he would help me with math homework, and I just wanted the answer.
Right.
It's like, just tell me the answer. He's like,
don't you want the joy of understanding how to arrive at the answer?
Well, that's 2.5 hours from now. You're
right.
gonna, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, I have a saying I always tell my team. It's like, we'll just jump out of the plane and we'll knit the parachute on the way down.
Oh, good.
Right? And, I have found that if you do that and you build a great team, they won't let you down. And very rarely will you ever hit the ground.
It's been my experience too. Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So I'm curious about the resources that went along with the 3 years.
Right.
You know, there's a three, and I don't know if these things may not be exactly matched up timeline-wise. You'll have to help me with that. But there's a $3 billion investment, and then that's kind of 3 years. Were you given here 3 years and here's your budget, or did you get the opportunity to go and say, here's what I'm going to need in order to be able to do it? And go back? Because a lot of people ask, how do you get the resources?
Right.
And to do the thing, like what you have to do.
Right.
Like we got the conviction, right?
Well,
Boss wants it. You had that.
We were a privately held company, and our PE owners and their partners had spent, like you said, billions of dollars buying this asset, and so the desire to then sink a ton of additional money into the company. Nobody ever wants to do that. No company wants to just go and write blank checks. Like, it doesn't matter who you're owned by or what you're doing. And so we had a very constrained environment that said, we need to move fast. And look, our owners wanted us to grow our revenue, grow margin, and rebuild everything all at the same time. Those are very hard things to accomplish, but they're not completely...
It's like, do you want sales or profit?
Both.
Yes. The answer is
exactly.
yes.
I want speed, cost, and quality. And so we had to, weave our way through that. I think, I spent a lot of time with our board, with our executive group, pitching and selling the ideas of these platform capabilities that if we built those correctly would pay off for us in the end. Whether those were our video systems or our data platform, we could build those once and reuse them across the enterprise. It was a little bit of a leap of faith. I think everybody has to make that. Luckily, when you have your chairman and CEO who has your back, that always helps.
Yes.
But there's no.
You had some history there. I think that's a very
helps.
important
It really
point.
does. It helps in that it accelerates.
You used the word trust earlier, but
it accelerates.
A little deeper.
You have trust sooner, right? Because trust is earned, and so if you go in with some level of trust, you can then begin to execute faster. But at the end, you still have a lot of people to convince. You have to tell your story, and you're constantly pitching and selling and explaining. And then the other key is to start small, get some wins, and then move on. And so it was really important to us early on to begin to showcase wins as fast as we could.
I'm glad you brought that up. I've had a lot of conversations the last couple of days, and you're the first person to bring that up.
Don't
It's
go
the
dark.
early wins. Let's
You
get
can't
some
go dark.
W's.
Don't go dark for...
I can't do the sports metaphor thing at all, but that was what I learned. Like, you got to get some W's on the board.
Exactly. Get some points on the board.
I had bosses that were like, you don't get W's on the board. We're not going back up the line, which is what we call the executive wing, right? Literally up and back.
Back, right.
And you're not going back there. They were like, we're not going back until you post some W's on the board.
Because you've got a lot of people when you're going in through a transformation that are going to be skeptical. Right? You have your board that's going to be skeptical, you have executives that are going to be skeptical, but your team is also skeptical, right?
Correct.
When I came in and said, hey, we're going to rebuild our forecasting system and we're going to do it completely in the cloud, be the world's first cloud-based forecasting environment, there were a lot of folks that looked at me like I had three heads. Can that happen? Why would we do that? Is it going to work? That technology is not reliable. We need to run it in our own data center, all of the normal things you would expect. And so pushing your agenda through and then establishing credibility through those wins, those early wins, it builds confidence. It builds confidence in yourself. It builds confidence above you and below you. And you got to have all of that. And so the key is those early wins. I always looked at it as here's where I want to be in 3 years. So let me back into what are the tactical wins that I can get along the way that I may be making all these...
I like the 3-year time horizon too. I think 5's too much.
5's too long.
And then you get tight on one.
3's
it's
even...
like 1 to 3, but you get tight on 1 year. Like
I actually, I think if I could, when I do it again,
Yeah. But you will,
in my
'cause you
new
love
career,
weather.
right?
Yeah.
Whenever I do something like this again, I would even maybe push for 2,
Yeah.
because I
That's why I
think,
was asking how that felt that time sequence.
I think there were times where I felt it was too long, and times that I felt that it was too short. Kind of being naive at the beginning, I said, sure, it sounds good, we can do that. As you get into it, you realize how hard that is. But honestly, more time's not going to help. Get those early wins. Never stop selling. Even as you're getting those wins, continue to bring everybody back to why are you doing it? What's the end goal?
Alignment.
We're building a platform. Don't lose sight of that. Hey, this platform just solved this problem for us, because a lot of what we talk about, especially when it's technology, not everybody fully understands. And you have to continue to reinforce it.
Right.
Right?
So,
It's just like with my kids. I have to continue to reinforce.
yeah. Yeah, I can relate to that too. So you were in all these different industries. You have a fascinating career.
I get
you
bored,
were in
and so I
private equity. You were in
Travel.
in hospitality, right? Travel, hospitality.
Telecommunications,
You
consulting.
were in, right? Big Ten.
Yep.
I mean, yes, and now data management platform. I know.
Media, weather, whatever you want to
yes.
call it. Yeah.
Network. I'll call it a network.
Yeah.
Like, which was your favorite?
Oh,
Or which one informs you the most as you?
I spent the most amount of time in the hospitality industry.
Okay.
I think the hospitality industry has some awesome, fun challenges. Being global, at IHG we were in over 100 countries, over 4,500 hotels.
It's Intercontinental Hotel Group, right?
Correct,
yes.
correct. And so, world's largest hotel company at the time. You have big problems to solve, and they were complicated problems, and you had cultural, challenges, because you're trying to create global brands but ensure that you had regional differences. And so I learned a ton. And it was a great company to work for, and I think that if I love to travel as a personal hobby, so I would say that was certainly an enjoyable time, but it's hard to beat what we've been able to do at Weather.
Yeah, that's what it really sounds
like. And the
like.
transformation that we've been able to accomplish, we've had good recognition, of that, which is always nice for my team to feel, recognized. As you know, we're going through our acquisition with IBM.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about IBM and how that kind of came about, and then kind of bridge it into the biggest success of 2015. And I don't know if that's a part of it or not, but
wow, the IBM conversation actually started actually here in Vegas a while ago. I was sitting down with just some IBM friends. I sat down with a guy by the name of Mac Devine, who is the CTO over on their cloud business, and we were just out here at a conference and just talking, not about anything, but we were just talking. And one thing led to another, and I kind of challenged him. I said, I want you to come up with a data set or a problem in the world that weather doesn't influence. I want you to come up with a problem that weather doesn't influence. And even to this day, he jokes that he's still working on coming up with it.
But people aren't thinking that way. It was to that earlier conversation.
People weren't.
You take
it for granted, and then you realize that weather impacts so many of the decisions. It's one of the most primal decision-making, factors that we have as individuals.
Yeah.
But also that then translates into businesses as well. So. I think IBM started as an opportunity for us to, expand on our B2B business into the world of insurance and energy, and leverage IBM's global reach with our technical know-how and capabilities in those spaces. And I think that quickly gave IBM insight into, wow, there is really something special that these guys have built that could help so many other areas of IBM grow and expand, especially as they've been having great success with Watson and the insights.
We spoke with Johnny Wada this morning.
Yeah, Watson's been phenomenal and really has so much promise.
Yes.
But for Watson to continue to grow and learn, you have to feed it more data,
Yes.
right? You have to feed the
And new data sets.
right. And what we bring to the table is a platform that can ingest, store, and distribute vast quantities of IoT data sets, but also our own data sets. We already have massive and very interesting data sets with weather, with sensors on phones, sensors on aircraft. All of this data, now we can bring into the mix and really help accelerate the insights that the Watson, approach can bring to businesses. It's really exciting.
It
And
is
so,
exciting. Congratulations.
Yeah,
That's
I think
huge.
we're very excited. We're very much in the planning stage of how all of this might work,
Yeah.
and we're thinking through
Working
it.
on integration and synergies.
Yes, we're in that phase right now.
We merged Pillsbury and General Mills. I know what that phase
Yes,
is like.
so we've got to do it very fast.
Yes.
So we will, which is good.
Yeah.
And we'll get it done, and we're very excited about becoming part of the IBM family and taking everything we've done and expanding that out and arming IBM with additional capabilities, while not losing sight of being the world's best weather forecaster and
Right.
providing great tools
Keeping
to
your bar high.
fans and consumer fans and businesses all over the world. So we got a lot to balance.
Yeah.
It's going to be a tough challenge, but we're up for
I
it.
think you're up for it.
We're up for it.
I sense that in you. So this is like you're my favorite person to ask this question of. This is a prediction. What better thing than asking a weatherman
Okay.
to predict?
Now,
What's your prediction?
recall, I get it wrong
What's your
about
prediction?
25% of
Not
the
that
time.
often. It was 78% accuracy. I'm a research gal.
There we go.
So, what's your prediction for 2016? So
For
we
the weather
hang
or
out-
just in general?
No, just your prediction. It can be about CES. It can be about what the future is going to hold
Well, I
in terms
think-
of data management or
I think,
leadership.
well,
wherever
I
you
mean,
wanna
I think
head.
there's a lot that we could predict on
Someone said
2016.
the golden age of television. Someone else said it's a non-prediction. We've had a lot of different.
I think
responses.
what I'm really excited about seeing happen in 2016 is this drip of IoT. It doesn't mean a lot to most people today. The fact that their refrigerator can be connected, what does that mean? If my parents bought a new refrigerator and it could connect, to them that would be, why do I need that, right? And I understand that because we've not yet shown the value exchange to the average person of, if you give me data, I can help make your life better.
Yes.
We've not had that IoT value exchange yet. And
Yeah.
I think in 2016, we will begin to showcase the value exchange.
Yeah.
And I think that will really accelerate why
That makes
people
sense.
will want to begin sharing data into this kind of data sharing economy. If you share pressure sensor data off your phone, the forecast that I give you back, that rain
It's
alert
gonna be better,
is going to
yes.
be better. The
Yes.
rain alert is going to be 1 minute more accurate
Yeah.
than it was last time.
Yeah.
Oh, wow, okay, then I'll share that.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see real use cases.
The benefit. Yeah, that's a good
That's the
point.
value exchange benefit, that then the light bulb goes off and people understand why we are so fascinated with IoT.
Fascinating. I had the great gift of speaking to someone from Samsung who talked about, basically having an iPad on the refrigerator that was for ordering things, and
Right.
it's the same thing if you shared your data, and those are both familiar. Your refrigerator's familiar, that's familiar,
Right.
but it's like a bulletin board, and whose refrigerator hasn't been like a bulletin board, right? With
Right.
magnets and
Magnets
everything
and-
and all
right,
that
yeah.
communication. So yeah, it's exciting times ahead.
I'm a whiteboard guy. I want a
You
refrigerator
want a
that's
whiteboard?
just like
All
a
right,
whiteboard.
I'll tell him.
That's what I want, is a
All right,
whiteboard
I'll
refrigerator.
share that with him. I love that. That's awesome. So, in fact, when my husband and I moved, we actually preserved the order of all the things we had in the refrigerator because it was like 15, 20 years of like report card, and we
Oh,
moved it to
wow.
the other refrigerator. We kept
It's
it
like a
all pretty much
scrapbook.
intact. It was actually. It's a little life story. So, yeah, Bryson, it's been just so great to speak with you, and
Thank
from
you.
one Tar Heel to another. I just think you're just doing amazing, dazzling things. I really like your advice to, showcase wins, get a win, take time, but not too much time.
Right.
Communicate early and often, and I'd say build credibility. That's what you didn't necessarily use those words, but you just exude credibility, and I know that really helped your team come along when you invited them to make what seemed like a crazy proposition happen.
We're jumping out of that plane.
In a crazy amount of time.
Yep.
Yeah. And you just have a nice light touch, but intensity. And I really honor and respect your courage in working in a lot of different industries and trying things. And I'm thrilled that you love weather. You're obviously we're in the right place at the right time. So
well, thank you. You're kind. I appreciate it.
Thanks very much.
Great. Thank you.